Hello, good morning, students. Welcome to the class. Today we will see again about the physiotherapy for pulmonary conditions. So, there are various breathing exercises which are used for patients suffering from pulmonary conditions. Now, this breathing exercises or breathing retraining is of great importance to the physiotherapy related management of patient conditions. There are a number of breathing exercises which we use, like diaphragmatic breathing exercise, pursed lip breathing exercise, complete breathing technique, ACBP, autogenic drainage, segmental breathing exercise. Various names are given. So, what is the importance of these breathing exercises and how they are to be performed in various patients is something which we must understand and we should try to explore. So let us start with diaphragmatic breathing exercise. You all know that diaphragm is the main muscle of respiration. Diaphragm is the main muscle of respiration. It is supplied by phrenic nerve and many exercises are to be done for diaphragm. How do we do all these exercises? How do we achieve? So what are breathing exercises? What are breathing retraining programs? Some of these exercises can be given as a video controlled program also. Now let us say any condition like an asthma. What is asthma? Asthma is a condition of the reversible airway constriction. So for asthma, what kind of exercises or interventions can be given by us? Hmm? So please tell me what is asthma and what kind of exercises, breathing exercises and other exercises we can advise to our patients who are suffering from asthma or related complications of asthma. is asthma and what kind of breathing exercises are suitable for asthma? In case of asthma, there is reversible airway obstruction, and that reversibility of the airway obstruction produces a transient state of bronchoconstriction. Most of the time, we can use pharmacotherapy, the puff and the inhaler to relieve the bronchospasm. They are not primarily suffering from increased sputum production. The primary problem is with the allergens. There are certain substances which we can call as allergens, and these substances produce hyper responsiveness or hyper irritability of the airways. And then we have to give a lot of breathing exercises to them. Diaphragmatic breathing exercises can be a good exercise because it is sympatholytic in nature and increases the parasympathetic nervous system activity. And it can be given, it can be taught to the patient in a number of ways, including the visual or audio visual presentation, as well as it can be given as a face-to-face bedside education. So how do we give diaphragmatic breathing exercise? I'm sure all of you would have studied that in your exercise therapy by now. Are you aware how do we do the diaphragmatic breathing exercise? Yes, Ankita, can you tell me? CR, are you there in the class? Where are the CRs of your class? Sakshi and Prachi. Are you there, Sakshi and Prachi?
Yes, sir.
Sakshi, beta, make everybody an attendee.
Yes,
Prachi
sir.
also.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Ankita, are you in the class? Ankita is not there. Nikita Bharadwaj, am I audible to you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
हाँ तो बताइए हाउ वी विल डू डायफ्रामेटिक ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइज. सादिया महल, सादिया महल, साफिया इलाल, सोनल गंभीर. Why nobody responding? Where are you people? Are you in the class?
Yes, sir. Morning,
हाँ.
sir.
Good morning, Sadia. So, what is diaphragmatic breathing exercise and how we can teach this particular exercise to our patients?
Sir, we can make the patient to sit comfortably on the chair
Yes.
and then ask him to bend his knees and tell him to relax his shoulders and neck,
Mm.
and then ask him to place one hand on his upper chest and then the
Yes.
other hand just below his rib cage.
Mm. Yes.
And sir, then I will ask him to feel his diaphragm moving as he is breathing,
Yes.
and then he will slowly breathe and breathe out, breathe in and breathe out
Okay.
through his nose, sir.
Yeah. Breathe in through nose and breathe out through mouth.
Yes, sir.
And the diaphragm is to be the work of diaphragm is facilitated. Patient
Yes,
feels the movement of the diaphragm under. Very good, Sadia. You should have switched on your camera also as per the university
sir.
guidelines.
Sir, I have already switched on my camera.
Okay, but you switched on, but you are not visible.
So actually, my Wi-Fi is not working properly since yesterday, so that is why.
No. So very good.
Thank you.
So how to assess the diaphragm? I want to understand now how we will assess the diaphragm. Diaphragmatic breathing exercises is very important for number of conditions in physiotherapy, including asthma. Now the important thing we must understand is how should we assess the diaphragm? Can anybody tell me how we assess the diaphragm? The movement of the diaphragm, the power of the diaphragm, the working of the diaphragm, how we can assess the diaphragm. Alicia Into, Baijanti Singh, Mehak Mehta, any one of you can tell? Yes, why you people are not responding? Am I not audible to you? See, attendance will only be given once you interact in the class. It is not just to log in. It is not a virtual class. You have to interact. Chaitali Kochar?
Yes,
Chaitali?
sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chaitali. Chaitali, can you tell me how will you assess the diaphragm?
Sir, there's a test called a sniff test.
Hmm.
सर इसमें एक डिवाइस यूज करते हैं, फ्लोरोस्कोपी नाम होता है उसका,
Mm-hmm.
to see the diaphragm move up and down on and during respiration and expiration.
Mm-hmm.
सर इतना ही पता है.
तो देखो इसमें एक तो MMT कर सकते हैं हम मैनुअली कैसे असेस करेंगे डायफ्राम के फंक्शन को. वेयर आर यू चैताली कोचर? वी कांट सी यू.
So my camera is on.
The camera is on.
Yes, sir.
I am not able to see. Maybe I have some others are able to see her. So what happens in diaphragmatic breathing exercise? We make the patient lie down in crook lying position with the knee bent and shoulders relaxed, and we keep our hand on patient's epigastric region just below the rib cage and ask the patient to take a deep breath. If we can feel a movement in this position against our hand, then it is an anti-gravity position, and in anti-gravity position you have to give the grade 3. Okay. Now if you don't feel any movement of the diaphragm, patient is not able to produce any perceptible diaphragmatic movement in this position, then the diaphragm is not at grade 3. Then you will make the patient lie down in sideline, and the portion which is on the lower side, that hemi-diaphragm you will check. That is gravity eliminated positioning in the sideline position. Then in the sideline itself you can just feel if there is any perceptible movement. So grade 2 and grade 1, if there is no movement, then obviously you will have to say that diaphragm is at grade 0. Then if the diaphragm you are in the crook lying, supine crook lying position, if you are able to see and feel the movement of the diaphragm, then you may apply mild pressure and then moderate pressure. And if the patient is able to move the diaphragm against diaphragm through the diaphragm, the abdominal wall against your pressure, against the pressure of your hand, then you can respectively classify the diaphragm as grade 4 or grade 5 according to the pressure which you have applied to the patient's abdomen. This is how you can grade the diaphragm. You can also see the diaphragm in an X-ray. If you take the picture, X-ray picture, you will see the dome of right and left hemidiaphragm. The dome is like this in a semicircle. If the diaphragm is paralyzed due to phrenic nerve injury, you will not see this dome. It will be lost and the diaphragm will be flat. It won't move. You must appreciate and always keep in mind that whenever diaphragm moves, it goes up or it goes down. How the diaphragm will move? When the diaphragm will move, it will go down. It contracts because it is attached to the periphery. The dome will contract and bring the volume into the abdomen rather than into the lungs. Push the pressure into the abdomen and increase the volume of the lungs. That movement is lost in case of paralysis or weakness. So, other than this, there are options where in a surgical procedure we may try to get an EMG of diaphragm. Then some devices are available where we can check PI max, that is the maximal inspiratory pressure. That is also an indirect surrogate measure of the pressure of the diaphragm. PI max can be checked. So these are some of the options through which we can assess the diaphragm in our patient. Have you understood
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you repeat the very first step for the grade 3 which you told us? I wasn't able to understand that completely.
I will tell you once again. Who is asking the question?
Sir, Muskan.
Muskan, where are you? We can't see you, Muskan. Where are you? See, you must follow the university guideline. We are being monitored. So you must follow the university guideline and switch on your camera when you are interacting during the remote classes.
Am I visible?
Yes, visible. Muskan, what we do now, because diaphragm is a muscle of respiration, we will position the patient initially in supine and then bend the legs to become to make our patient in a crook lying position. Okay. Now in the crook lying position, what will happen? You have to facilitate the movement of the diaphragm. Now you must understand the origin and insertion of the diaphragm. From where the diaphragm is originating. Diaphragm is originating from the lower lumbar vertebra, the costal margin of the lower ribs, and the anterior part of the chest cavity, that is the sternum. And the fibers from all these three directions make a dome like structure, and the dome like structure, all the fibers get inserted into the central tendon. Now we want to check this tendon and whether there is a movement. Now whenever this tendon will move, it will flatten the diaphragm, and when it is going to flatten the diaphragm, it is going to push the abdominal contents down and increase this side is the lung and this side is the abdomen. So it is going to move like this and the abdomen is going to rise. So you keep your hand on the abdomen just below the rib cage and ask the patient to breathe. When the patient will breathe, he'll push the diaphragm down and then the abdomen will rise. So you will feel it like this here. Now this movement of the diaphragm is anti-gravity movement. And this movement, if you are able to feel, this is grade 3 diaphragm, anti-gravity. Now how to facilitate this movement is once you pick, what you do, you make the patient to lie down in crook lying position and you have to facilitate the flattening of the lumbar lordosis. Okay, how will you do that? You will ask the patient to do a anterior, pelvic tilting. So patient will tilt the pelvic upward and flatten the lumbar region. doing that, the fibers which are originating from the
That in lying position.
please repeat.
So, is he able to do that in the lying position?
Yes, patient can do that in lying position. The patient is in supine lying position, and when the patient will bend the knees, there will be slight increase in the lumbar lordosis. And with the pelvic tilting, anterior pelvic tilt and posterior pelvic tilt, you will superiorly you will tilt the pelvis. Okay, and that with that pelvic tilt, you will flatten the patient's lumbar spine. What will happen? This flattening of the lumbar spine is that with this posterior pelvic tilting and flattening of the lumbar spine, what will happen? That the fibers which are originating from the lumbar vertebra will get, rather than being like this, they will become straight. Get a slight stretch. They will get a slight stretch. Okay. Now this will facilitate the diaphragm to move, because you know that there is a stretch reflex. If you stretch a muscle before the muscle has to contract, then the contraction of the muscle is better. You know that? Right. So what we are doing, we are actually facilitating that only by giving a posterior pelvic tilt, flattening of the lumbar lordosis, and bending the knees. Now you see the patient is lying supine, so the lower thoracic margins are fixed. Okay, as well as the posterior thorax is completely fixed. So now you see the spine is almost like in extension, because the kyphosis is also reduced. It also increases the volume of the lung slightly. Okay, and then we keep our hand on the epigastric region, and just before we give the command to the patient that you take a deep breath and push your abdomen against my hand, just before that we will give a quick stretch from the epigastrium. What it will do? It will again push the diaphragm little bit into the lungs, again stretching the dome, and then with that stretch and this stretch and our verbal command and our tactile stimulation, we facilitate the movement of the diaphragm. And the patient will push the diaphragm against like this, and you feel the pressure. If you apply little more pressure during it, it will become grade 4. And if you apply little more pressure and patient is still able to push, grade 5. If the patient is not able to move the diaphragm in this position, then you will make the patient lie down in a side lying position. So in side lying, what happens? Side lying, the abdominal content will fall downward. Okay, and the diaphragm is actually not pushing the contents, and it is just moving on its own. So it is gravity eliminated position for the diaphragm. Again you will feel for one hemidiaphragm and then for the other hemidiaphragm, and see if there is no movement, then again you can slightly push in your hand and feel for any flicker or any trace. If you find any but no movement, but there is a little trace, then you can grade it as 1. But if you find nothing, there is no movement, no trace, patient's abdomen is completely flaccid, not able to move the diaphragm at all, then it will be grade 0. Once it is grade 0, then you can do EMG and other studies. Also, there is a way, if the patient's diaphragm is grade 3 or more, you can use PI max, that is maximal inspiratory pressure. In this, there is a spring-laden device which we keep in the mouth and ask the patient to inspire, and the pressure is generated. We see how much pressure is generated by the patient. Okay, that pressure is the PI max or the PI max pressure, and that pressure also you can record. Okay, that pressure also you can record, and with that you can also do a follow-up also in a consecutive assessment, and you can say whether the diaphragm is improving or it is not improving. See, breathing is a systematic act, so the role of the viscera and the body position and gravity becomes important. As a physiotherapist, we always use gravity, right, in our this thing. So there are three aspects of the diaphragm. One is the costal aspect, another is the lumbar aspect, and then there is a sternal aspect. These are the three ends. And then there are a lot of ligaments. The sternal part arises, with two small fiber bundles from the posterior aspect of the Xiphid process. And the costal aspect or the lateral costal aspect is arising from the inner and the superior aspect of the last 6 ribs. And these muscles have got a very close interdigitation with the abdominal muscle, that is transverse abdominal muscle. Okay, they are almost similar. So once the diaphragm is contracting, there is a, it is pushing the, and you can feel that the sideways abdominals are also tight. If you will try to perceive it in your own breathing, and if you take a deep breath and you keep your hand on the sides, then you will see that the the abdominals are also becoming tight. You can appreciate that movement. The right medial ligament is thicker and longer than the left one. There are various ligaments, right medial, left medial, and then there is a central tendon. So we need to understand the anatomy. There are some studies in which they have also tried a gentle myofascial release in the context, if you say, the therapeutic technique to in the body, and this myofascial technique, what happens in that, we apply a low load for a very small duration and we try to stretch into the myofascial complex for the optimal lengthening before the contraction. So that also we can try by keeping our hand on the just around the Xiphis sternum and all the costal margins, and if we find that one portion is not moving, we can try to mobilize that area with our manual myofascial release also. So this is how manually you can evaluate the diaphragm. It is well known that, yes.
Sir, can we also do lateral rib extension test? Lateral rib cage expansion test.
Yes. Mahima, you need to switch on your camera.
Am I visible, sir? Good morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning.
Yes.
So yes, it can be done. See, but you should understand that the lateral rib extension, it maybe a portion of the diaphragm is involved in that. So it is always done as part of the segmental breathing exercise, and it is like a breathing technique. Lateral rib extension is a breathing technique, more or less. I am not aware of its significant diagnostic accuracy.
Okay, sir. So
But
can we
yes,
also?
you can always assess the lateral costal expansion, because the lateral costal expansion is the work of the lower ribs in which they are going to move in a bucket handle movement
Yes, sir.
and going to increase the sideways diameter
Transfer diameter
of the chest cavity for
Yes,
the
sir.
facilitation of the inspiration. Okay, this is mainly brought about by the movement of the lower ribs, like from 8, 9, 10, and floating ribs. Floating, the movement of the floating ribs, the corresponding movement of the floating ribs is known as the caliper motion. And the movement of the 8, 9 and 10th rib is known as the bucket handle movement, which produces this lateral costal expansion or the side-to-side diameter of the chest wall increase. We should understand how this movement is taking place. Okay, there is a joint at the spinal level, at the vertebral level, between the costal margin of the rib and the spinous process and the transverse process of the thoracic vertebra. Okay, and there is a very small movement which is produced at that during the inspiration process. When we inspire, there is a small movement which is produced at the joint which is between the spinous process, transverse process of the vertebra and the costal and the thoracic end of the rib. The rib, when it is attaching with the vertebra, it is slightly twisted like a knob and it attaches with the vertebra. So there is a very small movement there. Now through the leverage principle, a small movement which is produced here through the leverage of the entire rib produces a large movement anteriorly, which results in bucket handle movement. So this is the basically the movement of the rib which is producing that. And the movement which is produced by the diaphragm is traditionally known as the piston movement of the diaphragm, which is responsible for 2/3 of the inspiratory excursion within the thorax. And that piston movement of the diaphragm happens once we take a deep breath. The diaphragm goes down like a piston, and then the thorax, the volume increases in the thorax, and the pressure increases in the abdomen. The pressure falls in the thorax. That's why the atmospheric air gets into the thorax. Opposite of that happens during expiration. The diaphragm recoils, the lung recoils, and the pressure increases, and the air is expired out. Now, as a facilitator of the diaphragm, we have to facilitate the excursion of the diaphragm downward, and we basically assess that part only, mainly. However, lateral costal expansion can be assessed, and we can also use manual therapy to mobilize the junction of the rib and the vertebra in order to facilitate the excursion of the lower ribs for the bucket handle movement. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, very good. Any other question? Okay. So this is how we will see the diaphragm, and we will try to assess the diaphragm. As you know that the diaphragm is the main muscle of respiration, it is very important to not only to kind of see it, and also we should try to improve the movement and the excursion of the diaphragm in a proper way. Now to do that, we must keep our hands on the epigastric region, and we should see the feedback. As diaphragm having origin from three aspects, I told you, from the lumbar spine, from the diaphragm and the lateral costal margins. So once the diaphragm will move, there will be some perceptible, palpable feedback which will be there on the lateral costal margins as well. But that feedback which is there at the lateral costal margins is suggestive of the diaphragmatic activity, but that does not result in the excursion of the diaphragm. But you can keep your hands to do the palpation there. But to see the force of the diaphragm, you have to keep your hands at the epigastric region. Anteriorly on the costal margin, and you should try to push slightly into the costal margins. This position is good for assessing the diaphragmatic excursion. Okay. So, yes.
So can you please repeat the position for diaphragmatic excursion? So I couldn't hear.
See, I will just share my screen and I will just show you some pictures. Then I think you will understand better. Who is asking the question?
Sir, Ismat.
Ismat, very good. Ismat, you should switch on the camera for the discussion. Which is the guideline.
Yes, sir.
So I will just show you some pictures of the palpatory movement of the, what exactly we have to do and what is the thing. So Mahima has also asked a very good question, and you are also asking a doubt. So we will just show you the pictures, which it will become very clear to you how you are going to do it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I am now sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
So not yet. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you see these are the various positions, and this is the diaphragm. You should see this is diaphragm. So point number 1, you see this is the central tendon. Point number 2 is the anterior diaphragmatic dome, then the xiphoid area, and then the fourth is the costal area. Can you see the ribs? The ribs from where these diaphragmatic fibers are originated? This is the costal area. And fifth one is the medial ligament, sixth one is the lateral ligament, and the seventh is the aorta. And then you can see even the vertebrae are shown here. The fibers are coming from the vertebrae also. Okay, this is the diaphragm. This is the respiratory diaphragm, and these are various. This is the main position where you assess during the inspiration and expiration. This is the hand position. For this is, and then this is the right hand position. See, the hands can be held anteriorly on the costal margin, with the thumbs being at the level of the margins and the other fingers being placed on the outer ribs. This manual position can be used to assess the diaphragmatic excursion. Okay. Then we have this position. What is in this position? To evaluate the diaphragmatic domes, the operator's forearm has to be held parallel to the abdomen of the patient, with the thenar and hypothenar eminences of the hand at the level of the anterior margin of the costal arc. A gentle push must be performed in the cranial direction, that is upward, as to record the elastic response of the tissue for both right and left side. Okay. So this is the assessment of the central dome and central tendon. Now further, the posterior lateral areas can be assessed as previously described for the domes, but the forearm at 45-degree angle position. So in here they are obliquely they are assessing, because it is a dome, no? So all aspects of the dome can be assessed. Topmost area, the sides of the dome, and the back of the dome can also be assessed. This is the xiphoid area. Then they can also assess the back of the dome. Okay. For medial ligament, the spinal elasticity.
So do we feel movement at the back of the?
Yeah, the operator will feel the movement of the the vertebrae, as well as because when we take a deep breath, there is extension of the spine. Okay, just take a deep breath and feel. You will feel the expression of the spine. First, there is a movement of the diaphragm, and the movement of the diaphragm gets transmitted to the back also, and to the lateral costal margins also, because there is an interdigitation of the transversus muscle, and that is what Mahima was asking. This is also lateral ligament, and then Mahima was asking the lateral costal expansion. This is also can be checked. Lateral costal expansion, I just show you. This is lateral costal. So how the coastal margins are going to move, and this is the actually movement of the bucket handle movement. Okay, the bucket handle movement of the diaphragm can be perceived here in this lateral costal. And this is the main dome of the diaphragm, central portion, the sides of the dome, central and the back of the dome of the diaphragm can be assessed by doing this. Okay. Then there is a
Okay, sir.
again you should see this paper also. The manual diaphragm release technique improves diaphragmatic mobility, inspiratory capacity, and exercise capacity in people with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Now they have not given any detail, but again the manual diaphragmatic release technique is has been shown to significantly improve diaphragmatic mobility over the course of the treatment. Now, as a physiotherapist, it is very important for us because we are seeing the diaphragm, and we know the origin insertion of the diaphragm, the nerve supply of the diaphragm, the biomechanical part of it we know, and accordingly we can facilitate the movement of the diaphragm. Like if you have seen, as Mahima had asked, if you see that the lateral costal margins are not moving, then manually you can give a quick stretch to the lateral costal ribs, keeping your fingers between the intercostal margin, and just before the inspiration you quickly push it inward like this and release, inward and release. So that is going to facilitate the bucket handle movement and the side to side expansion of the chest. Okay, Mahima, are you understanding, Mahima?
Yes, sir.
Good. Sonal Gambhir, have you understood? Sonal, are you in the class? Sonal Gambhir. Aarti Chaudhary, are you there? Aarti. Alicia Anto. Alicia.
Yes, sir.
Alicia, can you tell us now quickly, can you summarize about the diaphragm muscle and the manual aspects, how a therapist can assess and facilitate it? Yes. Switch on your camera and quickly tell us.
Sir, am I visible?
Yes, you are visible.
Sir, the diaphragm is the main muscle for respiration, and for testing for grade 3, we should make the patient in crook lying, and then place our hands in the epigastric region, and tell him to breathe, and tell him to push his abdomen towards our hands. So if
Yes.
we feel that it is grade 3, and if we add little more pressure, then it is grade 4 and then grade 5. And for gravity eliminated position, it is side lying, and we have to place our hands on the lower side, the side which is touching the bed, and we can feel. If we can feel, then it will be grade 2, grade 1, and if we do not feel any flicker of contraction, then it will be grade 0. Sir, and in X-ray we can see it as dome shaped. The diaphragm can be seen as dome shaped, and if the phrenic nerve is injured, there will be paralysis. Uh,
And how will you facilitate the diaphragm? epigastric region, quick stretch, and the flattening of the lumbar curvature.
Yes, sir, we have to ask the patient to do a posterior pelvic tilt, which will flatten the lumbar region. And so the fibers from there, it will become straightened up. So it will facilitate the diaphragm to move.
Okay, good. Very good. So I think everybody has understood. Any questions here? Any questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Sadia. Please
Yes,
ask.
sir. Am I visible, sir?
You're visible.
Sir, you have uploaded one assignment on LMS about red flags in physiotherapy.
Yes.
Sir, is it about some particular condition or we have to just
Yeah.
write in general?
See, in the initial modules, when we have assessed the subjective, objective assessment, history taking, and our assessment examination and investigations, then
Yes.
in that I have discussed number of contraindications with you, right? All those contraindications and precautions, they form the red flag, specifically for cardiopulmonary patients.
So
Also,
red flags are basically the risk factors.
yes, they are the
Yes.
risk factors, as well as they are those signs and symptoms where we have to take precaution while we are giving our intervention, or in certain situations our interventions may be completely contraindicated for the safety of the patient, and it might be an emergency situation where we will have to refer the patient for the emergency medical management. So, as a physiotherapist, we must understand what are those situations where we have to do such a decision.
Yes, sir.
That's why I have put that aside.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Prachi and Sakshi. Can you tell me about the attendance of the class? Anybody whose attendance has to be taken manually?
Yes, sir, Prerna.
Where
Present,
are
sir.
you? प्रेरणा कहाँ हैं आप?
Sir, present.
Present. Okay. So tell me about the attendance, Prachi and Sakshi.
So Deepika is not present.
Deepika. Was not from the beginning, or just now she got out? Yes. दीपिका पहले से ही नहीं थी?
Sir,
So
don't know about.
ध्यान नहीं दिया.
ठीक है, चलो, I will mark her absent. If there is any change, we will see.